Now I have to tell you about the most important piece of research that I think has been done in the history of civilization. A group of scientists, and don't ask me how they got this idea, but they took a yogurt culture, and yogurt's not like the smartest thing on the planet, but it's smarter than the researchers. They made a yogurt culture, they divided it in half, and attached half of it to the equivalent of galvanic skin response, something that could measure the electrical activity in the yogurt. And then they poured milk on the other half of the yogurt, which is what yogurt eats. Yogurt eats milk. But when this half got fed, the half with the electrical stimulus stuff began to respond immediately. It knew the other half was being fed. And the scientists went, wow, ESP. And in yogurt just tells you about evolution. Yogurt is more evolved than scientists. So they tried pushing it further and further apart, but still the yogurt knew what the other yogurt was up to. They put lead walls in between it, and still yogurt knew yogurt. It's just that simple. They tried all measures of the electromagnetic spectrum, and yet every time they fed the other yogurt knew what was going on. So at the end of their rope, because people never come to me first, by the way, that's not the way it works. People don't go, I'm feeling a little depressed, I think I'll go see Richard. Nah, they spend 8-9 years in therapy. They go through mega vitamin treatments. They hug trees. They go to naked seminars in California where they sit around in hot tubs and try and pretend like it doesn't bother them to have their clothes off with total strangers. And of course, to me, I think when I take my clothes off, I want to be affected when I see other people naked, especially women. I want that to affect me. I don't know which psychologist decided looking at people naked shouldn't affect you, but my guess is his sex life doesn't amount to much. He wants to make it so that when you look at the universe, it affects you not at all. He wants to be less than yogurt. Now, when they contacted me, they told me what happened, and they said, what do you think's going on? Now, here's the funny thing. The reason they called me is I had destroyed $5 million worth of research in 10 minutes. I went to visit this big place, and they had these rats running down mazes. And the rats would run down and find the cheese. And they said they were called behaviorists, and behaviorists believed that all learning was done because implicit muscle movements. So the rat, somehow or other, the muscles do go 5 steps, do 6 steps, and you find the cheese. According to these psychologists, rats don't think. Now, this tells me one thing. They did not grow up in the same city I did. Rats not only think, they plan and use blueprints. Okay, rats are smart animals, especially city rats. They can find, it's amazing. You can go in buildings where there are no rats. When they tear them down, 500,000 come out of the middle of nowhere and run up and down the streets. And they have nests and family lives and everything's going on. But the researchers told me they don't think they. And I said, and you prove this? They said, oh, yes, we proved this. And they showed me volumes of research and hours of testing. And I said, when a rat runs, does it use the same muscles as when it swims? And they said, of course not. I said, watch this. And I put wax inside the maze, filled the maze with water, put the cheese in, dropped the rat in, and it swam right to the cheese. So everything they were doing was wrong. Bye-bye research grant, bye-bye institute. So they all went out and wrote other grants, got other jobs. And when they got stuck on the yogurt phenomenon, they called me up and came in and told me, they said, what do you think's going on here? And I said, well, when you pluck a piano string, another piano string vibrates. It's called a sympathetic vibration. Ancient pagans believed that magic was done with, there's 2 kinds of magic, high ritual magic and sympathetic magic. Sympathetic magic, voodoo people build a doll that looks like somebody, take a piece of their hair, or what we like to call DNA, and they stick a pin in this, or they put herbs on this, and it affects the human. By having you see, we're discovering lots more about that voodoo really has a kind of a solid DNA base to it that seems like these voodoo priests somehow or other figured out about DNA and all kinds of stuff. But as it turns out that when things vibrate that have the same nature, things and other things in the universe vibrate. Now, as physicists, we're beginning to discover that this may be the way to do space travel, that you may be able to resonate things in magnetic fields and actually have them appear on the opposite side of magnetic fields. The experiment that was actually done in my laboratory. We created a magnetic field about 20 yards across, and a stable magnetic field, and then in it we created an instant electromagnetic field, a false thing done with electricity. And on the other side, every part of the magnetic field changed instantly. There was not a wave phenomenon. When this changed, this over here changed. Same thing happened with the Yougurt, by the way. Opposite ends of the linear accelerator at Stanford fed this Yougurt over there knew what was going on, and there was no time differentiation. It was instantaneous. And I have a love for everything that physicists can't explain. I did a seminar on Einstein's 100th birthday for people at Livermore Labs, gave each of them a little box of stuff, and one by one we went through anomalies of science. Anomalies are things that we have no answers to and we can't even make up excuses. For example, we have no idea how magnets work. They put the magnet on the top of the table, the one on the bottom of the table, and move it around. We don't know why. We have no explanation for it, and we're not even close to getting one. There's only two substances which are impervious to magnetism, and they're both artificially made. They were made for the space shuttle. I use them. I do good magic tricks with them. Actually make cards, glue new metal on there, put it on top of my briefcase, which has a 5,000 gauze electromagnet in it. By the way, the reason I have that is because when I turn it on, if anybody has audio tapes, they go blank. I find this is very helpful when I go to court. When they go to play depositions that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on, I put my briefcase and I turn the handle, and every tape recording of any kind within 300 yards is now blank, including the one they're making at that moment. You know, as we all sit there, if somebody has a fluorescent light, it might light up. But in the meanwhile, actually you can watch the room gets brighter as it happens, because the fluorescent lights in a courtroom suddenly gets bright in there. One of my friends is a nurse. She's a black lady, about 75, and her son was arrested on a drug charge. And this guy was absolutely framed. Guy at work asked him, he said, "Will you give me a ride home?" And he said, "Sure." So I drove home, and when the guy went up to the stairs, he yelled down, he said, "Oh, I left my briefcase in the car. Why don't you bring it up and we'll have a cup of coffee?" So he grabbed the briefcase, he walked up the stairs, set it on the table, and the police arrested him. And they videotaped him, and they opened the briefcase, and it was full of cocaine. So they were going to send him to prison, probably for like 25 years. I don't know if the police arranged this, or, if this guy was a drug dealer and then said he'd get him a bigger drug deal. I don't know, nor did I really care. So I just went to court with my briefcase, sat behind the district attorney, put my briefcase down and went like this as he brought all the evidence in and set it under the table, right? And as he went there, and then he started out his case by showing the videotape, and there was nothing on it. So he pulled out the backup tape, and there was nothing on that either. And the judge yelled at him, and he said that he had one in his office. And I thought, didn't think about that. This guy made an extra copy. And so I said to the district attorney, I said, I need to talk to you about another case. Can I walk to your office with you? And he said, sure. So I went down there, and we walked all the way down, and as we were walking back, and then he got in and he put that tape in, didn't work either. Thrown out of court. To me, there's always a technological solution to everything. There's a way to do everything. But I thought what they were doing to this young kid was just unacceptable. And this lady had been a nurse, and she had helped lots and lots of people. And when she came to me, she came to me because she had a nervous breakdown. And the psychiatrist said, he said, I try to talk to her, and she yells at me and slaps me. And she was a big lady. It was really great. She would go, "They shouldn't have done, my son wouldn't be a liar." Bam! And he goes, "Well, maybe your son is a drug dealer." And bam, she'd hit him again. So they sent her to me because they said, well, nobody hits Richard. And I said, that's not actually true. It's just they don't usually get to do it again. That's not my policy. My policy is give to those who give to you, plus or minus 2. And when it's minus, look out, because my imagination can get really weird. So I said to them, so why are you so upset that yogurt knows yogurt? I said, don't you think the same thing is true about human beings? Because the truth is, that when people start getting depressed, the people around them get depressed. When you get people to start being violent, everybody starts getting violent. It's all kinds of stuff, and not just in one place on the planet, all over the damn place. We can affect one another. The question is, who can hold the vibration the most steady? Now, I tried to explain to them that it's really a simple phenomenon. I said, when I work with clients, I don't establish rapport by going into their state of depression and bringing them out. I stay happy as can be until they have to give up. It's just that simple. People who can't be hypnotized, I don't care who told them that. Usually it's a post-hypnotic suggestion. Their belief that they can't alter their state of consciousness. People do it all the time. How many times have you been sitting behind a car at a stoplight and the light changes and the guy in front of you doesn't? They're just there. These people will look at you and go, I cannot go into a trance. And I usually go, well, not a good one. But that doesn't mean just because you haven't done something doesn't mean that you can never do it. The fact that, I asked this depressive once, I said, have you ever been happy all day for a whole day? And he said, never. And I said, that's because you don't know how. You're not good at it, so you're going to spend the day with me. And I want you to try as hard as you can in vain to remain depressed. Now. And I went into a state of feeling absolutely wonderful and just stared at him. And he went, I feel funny. I said, that's happiness. You're just not used to it. And he goes, you can't just look at somebody and make them happy. And I went, of course you can. Yogurt can do it. I should be more talented than yogurt, don't you think?